both working firm in the world of green grants and Aveda for quite a while. I know probably all my adult life, ever since I came out of college, when somebody said, what are you going to do about saving the environment and saving the rainforests? And the first time I got that question, I had no idea. And a few years later, somebody said, we're setting up a global network to save rainforests. And I said, can I help? And that's what I've been doing for the last 26 years. Rainforests, mostly. But no, I didn't have maybe the smarts to go into the biology and all the scientific data. But when I saw indigenous peoples and the rubber tappers actually putting their lives in front of these tractors so that they wouldn't cut the forest because that's their life. That was the second thing for me. Okay, that's what I want to do. And I've been trying ever since, trying to figure out how do you get resources in the hands of people who are really doing the work. They will do it anyway, but with a little bit of money, they can do so much more. It's incredible. So if you look, as you look at these pictures behind me, they are not pulled out of Google or something. These are real people. We know projects. It represents the world of Green Grants. Green Grants is a global network that works through the knowledge of the local people that to access the grassroots. So the groups that nobody sees usually, mostly in our society. In Brazil, I can tell you for sure that all the communities, the poor communities that are in the forest, usually pushed out because they didn't have any land, and now trying to keep whatever the land that was taken over by the big productions and business and dams and roads and pipelines and whatever. We need to keep our world going, but doesn't necessarily look at who is on their way before they get doing that. So what we found around the world is very similar. There are over 100 advisors around the world, and we actually know our territory so well, and we know we are like a spider of knowledge, because we really can see where a very small amount of money could make a big difference. And knowing that there is a company like yours, and I have to say that I was really touched when you stood up and said that mission, because I could see that it's not just words, that you really believe it. And that to me was really important to see. There's a lot of ways to do business in the world, and I'm glad that you chose to do it this way, respecting the planet and the people. Water, obviously, and that you chose to support is the biggest issue of our times. There's a lot of situations like this. And how do you connect to it? By doing what you're doing, by actually helping this global network to raise money. And I can assure you that money gets where it has to go. It does get to these groups. All of these are grantees of the global Green Grants Network. And unfortunately, the world has these divisions of wealth and poverty, and it shouldn't have. And it's only through this kind of work, and Light the Way is the best name for a candle, and for actually shining light on people who are completely invisible in their world. And you wouldn't believe what it means for a community that doesn't think they have a voice to get a little bit. With $1,000, I can tell you that we funded a lot of small communities in the Atlantic forest, the second most endangered forest in the world, huge watershed for the rivers that feed the biggest concentration of population in the country, over 15 million people. But people forget that the communities up in the mountains where the water gets out of the ground need some assistance. They are abandoned. They've been abandoned for 500 years. And if you don't look at how the water comes out, you can't have clean water, fresh water for the population that needs it. So there is a connection. So what we do, we actually help these communities to find alternative ways to make money without destroying the forest. And just to tell you one thing, one big project that we've been funding is one big little project. Funding communities along the Atlantic forest to make money by making a juice that I guess now it's similar to what you've heard, acai, which is this very rich iron-rich juice from the Amazon. Well, in the Atlantic forest, there's something very similar. It's the Jussara palm. The palm tree that gives this, this fruit is also the same that you probably have heard or eaten. Produces a palm heart, the heart of palm. It's a very, very good salad thing. But to do that, you have to actually extract the palm heart, you have to cut the tree down. And that is an endangered species now. The Atlantic forest, there's only 7% of it left. And so when you don't have to cut the tree, it's illegal, but people risk their lives because they're hungry and they need to make a little bit of money and they end up in jail without bail. It puts them in a very complicated situation. These are small communities that live along the coastal line where the forest is still around. Some runaway slave communities, we call them quilombos, who were isolated for centuries and who are now beginning to find their ways back into society. And now, what they're doing, instead of cutting the palm heart, the tree to get the palm heart, they're actually planting the palm, the Jussara palm, because they can make a lot more money with the juice. So we gave a bunch of small groups there a freezer, processing like a little more industrial blender kind of thing to extract the juice, and a sealing to seal the plastic bag so they can actually freeze it, and they can make money all year long. And we've done that with several of them. And we have funded the Jussara network, which means that all along there are hundreds of people working to do this and eventually to push a new policy in the country that allows traditional communities to sell this palm, this juice in the formal market, because otherwise, so they can make more money. And they're now opening restaurants in their little huts because they can use that, and they've invented all kinds of recipes. So with almost nothing, there's almost a revolution in the numbers. So I think I told you just the glimpse of what we do. And thank you so much. I hope that I can be of help anytime you got any ideas. I have to thank you very much for all the effort that you made to sell those candles, to raise that money, and I'm here to tell you that we are using it very well.